Welcome back to Fast Market here on the Schwab Network. It's time for cash tags. For that, let's bring in our next guest. It's going to be Landon Swan. He's a co-founder of LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Landon.
Thanks. Great to be here. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. PayPal, stock got upgraded today, but these fintech stocks, whether it's Block or PayPal, they haven't been doing too well when you've seen, Visa, MasterCard hitting all-time highs. The disruption portion of what they do is kind of waning at this point. Do you guys have the data that kind of backs up the mediocre response we've seen from some of these stocks?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Sort of mediocre. When you look at PayPal, their bright spot is Venmo. That's the driver for them. They're dominating with the younger demographic. They're doing really well. 80% of peer-to-peer payments go through Venmo, so they're doing really well there. But people are starting to get, I guess they're less excited with Venmo, and they're starting to get, less excited or a little bit frustrated with PayPal, frankly. There's a lot of competition. We've seen that PayPal is definitely starting to drop off a little bit. We know that even some of the competition from Square and Cash App, they're not doing that well. It's really more Apple Pay, Google Pay, and some of the more traditional ones, I guess you'd say, are the larger companies. Shopify obviously crushing it when it comes to point of sale. So it's a little bit of a, depends on which market you're talking about. PayPal and Venmo are very different from each other, but PayPal and Shopify can definitely compete. And Shopify is just getting it done. They're putting on a seminar on how to dominate this market. So PayPal struggling, Venmo doing well, but starting to lose a little momentum itself also. So they've got, they power through their marketing when it comes to college partnerships, branded debit cards, influencers, all that kind of stuff. That's started to slow a little bit. And even though they've got 90 million users, they did 350 billion in volume this last year, and their users are better. They have 22% more disposable income than the average U.S. citizen. So it's a strong business, but it's starting to just kind of wane a little bit. And we're seeing that again. Apple Pay, Google Pay, even Zelle, some Cash App to some degree are all starting to tick away at Venmo. I think PayPal, though, is the main concern in this company. Is that we've seen that happiness has started to decrease. People are frustrated with the fees. They're frustrated with buyer protection policies that have been implemented, and just doing business with PayPal is frustrating for a lot of merchants. People are finding ways to go around it. They're doing the friends and family to get away from the fees, or they're just switching to Shopify or someone else. So it's a tough business because you got so much competition. PayPal survived a lot longer than anyone thought, back when they were tied in with eBay closely. Now that it's a completely different company, they're dominating peer-to-peer with Venmo, but on the merchant side, they're really starting to struggle, I think, and I think it's just going to get worse from here as Shopify continues its dominance.
Landon, three firms upgraded this stock today, and TD Cowen upgraded not only PayPal but Block as well. But they have some good products, right? Venmo is now a verb. Even I'm 100, Landon, and I use Venmo every weekend for golfing and paying people back and forth. So Venmo is now in society. Everyone uses Venmo one way or another. But how can they move that away and get that more monetized, get that to the forefront? Why isn't Venmo on a parallel with Visa and MasterCard and a debit card and all those things? They should be able to get it there. So they must be doing something right. The stock, the chart doesn't look great, but it's getting a bunch of upgrades today. What do you think that is, Landon? Do you have any background there? Venmo seems to be popular enough that they should be able to carry this company going forward. It doesn't seem like it's doing it yet, though.
Yeah, when you think about the business, though, I agree. Venmo is the bright spot. That's what, if I was PayPal, I'd be bragging about Venmo. But when you think about, yes, peer-to-peer, they're dominating, absolutely dominating. But, peer to merchant or whatever you want to call it, all that's where you want, that's the transaction volume. That's where you get the money. That's why Shopify is doing so well. Visa, MasterCard, that's why they're doing so well. You're able to take 1.9% plus 30 cents, whatever the number is, off of each one of these transactions. they're not taking anything when you pay your golf buddy, right? I mean, that they're just holding your money. They collect some on the float, and maybe if you start using them to buy, then they can start taking from the merchant. But there's just not a lot of upside there on the peer-to-peer side, and it's fine. I mean, you got to get people into the ecosystem some way, and they've done a fantastic job of doing that. Again, they have dominated peer-to-peer, and they're continuing to do well. It's starting to slow a little bit, but you're also talking about slowing from the number one spot, so it's, take that with a grain of salt. But getting that transition from peer-to-peer over to merchants, I think that's the key, and that's what PayPal, that's what they've been trying to do. I mean, PayPal was initially, peer-to-peer and merchants, and now peer-to-peer has all gone over to Venmo, so now it's all merchants for PayPal. But they've got to translate those Venmo users into actual revenue, real revenue, by getting them to start using Venmo to pay merchants, and that's where they can get a lot more money. But that's a long stretch. I mean, when you think of Venmo, yeah, it's a verb, but do you think of Venmo when you go to the store? You're going to Venmo the store. You're going to use Venmo to pay? No. You think of obviously Visa, MasterCard, Apple Pay, all those, and the merchant thinks of Shopify. But they're not thinking of Venmo in that way. So yes, it is a huge bright spot, but I think the upside is on the merchant side, and that's where PayPal is struggling the most. And that's what all the data sees. All the data shows us is that's where they're struggling on the merchant side, and so that's why I'm a little bit concerned moving forward.
Also, on the concern front is the competition, right? Whether it's Apple Pay, whether it's these buy now, pay later, but stable coins, Landon. If you guys have any data that's a potential real headwind for these fintech companies, if firms start creating their own stable coins where they don't need these peer-to-peer middlemen at this point. And I know that PayPal has their own stable coin or they're developing it, but that's probably got to put some fear into maybe PayPal and Block and some of these other fintech companies, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm a pretty big crypto bull, and you guys know that. I'm still a little skeptical on that concept, so we'll see. I don't think it's a huge threat right now. Maybe down the road, but I don't see that as a major threat. But you never know with what Bitcoin's doing lately. Crushing all-time highs left and right. Maybe more of that is going to come into play. But no, I don't see that as a huge concern right now.
No real concern. All right, great stuff, great data as always, Landon. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, that's Landon Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio, breaking down PayPal. And Kevin, we used to talk about that all the time. I mean, this stock was $310 at one time. It just feels like they're losing grip. And I remember the previous 2 quarters to their last one, they actually saw a decrease in number of users. I think it was 450 million. It went down to 420. And then kind of stabilized last quarter. New CEOs trying to make some changes. But how do you want to look at this one from an example trade?
Yeah, Tom, this is a company that the way this just got spelled out in our conversation, they've got to get consumer to merchant. There's the key for their future, Tom. But things are getting better there. 3 upgrades today. It was Seaport, TD Cowen, Goldman, all raised their numbers. Some of it's because the stock has rallied through some of their numbers, but all things considered, Tom, I'm not sure how to really trade this. The premiums are not big.
Yeah.
So what I looked at, Tom, is something in the cash secured put realm. They have earnings on the 29th of July, so I stayed ahead of that with the July 25th expiration. Selling the 71 put